We don't get in life what we want. We don't even get in life what we deserve. We get in life what we are willing to tolerate. Your standards shape everything: your health, your relationships, your finances, your confidence, and the quality of your future. The invisible line you draw for yourself determines whether you live in power or in pain, in growth or in excuses. When you lower your standards, you start living a life of compromise. But when you raise them, everything changes. Because raising your standards isn't about wishing, it's about deciding that the old version of you is no longer acceptable, deciding that you won't settle for good enough. When you are built for greatness, there comes a moment in life when we stop asking for permission and start demanding more of ourselves. That moment is not born out of comfort, it's born out of discomfort so deep that it shakes us awake. Every person alive has a threshold, a breaking point, a moment where they look at their life and say, "This is not me anymore." That is the moment when transformation begins, not because circumstances changed, but because you made a decision about what you will no longer tolerate. The truth is, toleration is the silent killer of dreams. Most people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they accept too little and convince themselves it's okay. They lower the bar just to make life more comfortable, but in doing so, they shrink their own potential. If you want to raise your standards, you must start by deciding what is no longer acceptable in your world. That's where freedom begins. Think about it: everything you have right now is a reflection of what you've been willing to tolerate. If your body is not where you want it to be, it's because you tolerated skipping workouts, eating what was easy, or telling yourself you'd start tomorrow. If your relationships feel draining, it's because you tolerated disrespect, neglect, or settling for less than deep connection. If your finances are a mess, it's because you tolerated procrastination, fear of risk, or staying in a job beneath your value. Your standards created your current reality. But here's the beauty: your standards can also create a new reality. One decision, a real decision, can rewrite the entire direction of your life. I'm not talking about wishing, hoping, or saying someday. I'm talking about a decision that comes with an internal declaration: never again. Never again will I allow myself to live this way. Never again will I compromise on my worth. Never again will I let fear dictate my actions. That level of decision ignites change at the deepest level. Now, don't confuse deciding with wanting. Wanting is easy, wanting is comfortable. Everyone wants more money, better health, fulfilling love, and a meaningful life. But wanting doesn't move you, deciding does. Because a real decision eliminates all other possibilities. It cuts off escape routes. It forces you to align your actions with your new standard. When you decide what you will no longer tolerate, you stop negotiating with your limitations. There's power in saying no more. It's like flipping a switch inside of you. Maybe for years you've told yourself, "I should eat better, I should work harder, I should build better habits." But the word should never created lasting transformation. Should is weak, must is powerful. When you say, "I must change," something shifts. When you declare, "I will not tolerate this anymore," you elevate your identity instantly. Your entire psychology reorganizes to meet that new demand. And yes, the moment you decide, your old habits will fight back. Fear will show up. Doubt will whisper. Your environment will test you. People around you may even resist your change because it makes them uncomfortable. But that's exactly why deciding is so critical. If your decision isn't strong, those tests will pull you back down. But if your decision is absolute, those tests only strengthen your resolve. You become unstoppable because you've burned the bridges back to your old self. Look back at any breakthrough moment in your life: the time you finally got out of a toxic relationship, or the moment you finally demanded more from your career, or the day you looked in the mirror and refused to live in the same body anymore. Those breakthroughs didn't come from slow, gentle wishes. They came from the fire of never again. They came from a standard shift so intense that going backward was no longer possible. Every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every person who transformed their life had that moment. They didn't just wake up one day with better results. They made a decision about what they would no longer tolerate. They drew a line. They created a higher standard. And once you raise that standard, your life rises to meet it. You might be wondering, but what if I fail? What if I decide and then slip back? Here's the truth. Failure only happens when you stop deciding. You can fall, you can stumble, but as long as you recommit to the decision, you're still on the path. The danger is not in slipping, it's in tolerating the slip and normalizing it again. That's when mediocrity sneaks back in. Decide once, and then decide again every single day until your standard becomes your reality. Your brain is always watching you. Every time you tolerate something beneath your potential, your brain records that as your truth. Every time you refuse to tolerate it, your brain also records that. Over time, your brain rewires itself to match the standard you enforce. That's how identity is built, not by saying affirmations, but by deciding and acting in alignment with that decision over and over again. So ask yourself right now, what am I tolerating? What's draining my energy? What's keeping me small? What's the one area of my life that I've let slide for too long? Get brutally honest, because until you name it, you can't change it. And once you name it, you must declare no more. When you declare what you will no longer tolerate, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being a creator of destiny. Life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you demand, and the only way to demand more is to raise your standard and eliminate everything beneath it. It all begins with one choice, a choice to stop tolerating the old story, a choice to stop negotiating with your limitations, a choice to say, this ends here. That's not just the beginning of change, it's the birth of a whole new you. Every breakthrough begins with a vision that pulls you forward, a vision that burns so deeply in your soul that it refuses to let you settle for less. Without vision, standards fade. Without vision, decisions weaken. Without vision, you're left drifting, reacting to life instead of shaping it. To raise your standards permanently, you need a vision that is bigger than your excuses and stronger than your fears. Most people live with blurry goals. They say things like, I just want to be happier, or I want more money, or I hope to get healthier. But vague goals create vague results. A compelling vision isn't about more or better. It's about precision. It's about clarity so sharp that when you close your eyes, you can see it, feel it, breathe it. That kind of vision makes discipline effortless because your future becomes more real than your present. When you create a compelling vision, you stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, who am I becoming? Your standards rise naturally because your actions begin to align with the identity you are building. If your vision is to be a strong, confident leader, then showing up with courage becomes your standard. If your vision is to live in peak health, then nourishing your body and moving daily becomes non-negotiable. The vision defines the standard. The key here is emotional intensity. Your vision can't just live in your head, it has to live in your heart. The mind gives you strategies, but the heart gives you fuel. You've got to attach meaning to your vision. Why does it matter? Why must it happen? Why will you no longer accept life without it? When your why is strong, you'll push through obstacles that would have crushed you before. Your vision becomes the fire that makes you unstoppable. But here's the trap. Most people set visions that are too small. They dream within the limits of their current reality. They create visions based on what seems realistic. And so they stay trapped in the prison of their present standards. A compelling vision is not realistic, it's revolutionary. It should scare you and excite you at the same time. If your vision doesn't stretch you, it won't transform you. Think about the times in history when people achieved the impossible. They didn't start with resources, they started with a vision. They didn't wait until conditions were perfect. They declared a vision and then forced conditions to change. Vision is the seed of every invention, every movement, every breakthrough. And it's also the seed of your personal transformation. Your environment may try to shrink your vision. Friends may tell you to be practical. Society may tell you to play it safe. But the truth is, if you play small, you betray yourself. Playing small doesn't serve the world. Playing small doesn't inspire anyone. When you unleash a bold vision, you not only raise your own standards, you raise the standards of everyone around you. Clarity of vision creates certainty of action. When you're crystal clear on where you're going, hesitation disappears, procrastination vanishes, fear loses its grip. Why? Because your focus shifts from survival to creation. Instead of asking, how do I avoid pain today? You start asking, what can I build that will light up tomorrow? That's the power of a compelling vision. Now, creating a vision is not a one-time event. It's a living, breathing process. Your vision should evolve as you grow. The moment your vision becomes too comfortable, it's time to raise it again. Comfort kills progress. Growth requires stretch. So ask yourself regularly, is my vision still pulling me? Is it still bigger than my excuses? Or have I settled again without noticing? To create a compelling vision, start by imagining your life without limits. If nothing was impossible, who would you become? What would you contribute? How would you live? Don't think about the how, yet the how will reveal itself once your why is clear. Give yourself permission to dream outrageously, then anchor that dream with reasons that make it non-negotiable. And don't just think it, feel it. See it in vivid detail, hear the sounds, smell the environment, imagine the emotions of living in that future. The more sensory, rich your vision, the more your brain believes it's real. And the more your brain believes, the faster your standards shift to align with it. Vision without action is fantasy, but action without vision is chaos. You need both. The vision sets the standard, and the standard drives the action. When your vision is compelling enough, action becomes a natural expression, not a forced discipline. You'll wake up with energy, you'll push through pain, you'll embrace challenges, because your future is pulling you harder than your past is holding you. So ask yourself, what vision will make your old life unacceptable? What vision will demand higher standards from you automatically? What vision will make your excuses irrelevant? That's the vision worth building. That's the vision worth living for. That's the vision that raises your standards forever. When your vision is clear and compelling, you don't have to push yourself anymore. You get pulled into growth, pulled into courage, pulled into becoming the person you were always meant to be. Raising your standards is not a one-time decision, it's a daily discipline. You don't elevate your life by making a declaration once and then going back to old habits. You elevate your life by conditioning yourself every single day until your new standards become who you are. Your mind and body are like muscles. They don't stay strong automatically. They must be trained, fed, stretched, and challenged constantly. Think about it. You don't go to the gym one time and expect to stay in shape for life. You don't eat one healthy meal and declare yourself fit forever. Conditioning is about repetition. The same is true for your mind and emotions. If you want to raise your standards permanently, you must commit to daily rituals that reinforce the identity you're stepping into. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent conditioning. They think they need one massive breakthrough, but the truth is, breakthroughs come from compounded habits. The way you think in the morning, the way you move your body during the day, the way you feed your emotions, the way you speak to yourself. These repeated choices shape your standards more than any single event ever will. Your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant empowering thoughts, weeds will grow automatically. If you don't consciously feed your mind with growth, it will default to fear, doubt, and limitation. Conditioning your mind means choosing what you allow in, reading books that elevate you, listening to voices that inspire you, asking yourself questions that create solutions instead of problems, training your focus on what strengthens you, not what weakens you. And it's not just the mind, your body is the gateway to your emotions. When your body is energized, your emotions expand. When your body is neglected, your emotions shrink. Movement is medicine, breath is fuel. Strength creates certainty. If you want to raise your standards, treat your body as the foundation. Feed it with vitality. Move it with intensity, rest it with care. A strong body makes a strong mind. Most people wait to feel motivated before they take action, but conditioning flips the script. Action creates motivation. When you move, when you push your body, when you stand tall and breathe deeply, your state changes instantly. And when your state changes, your standards change. That's why conditioning is not optional, it's the engine of transformation. Ask yourself this. What rituals do you practice daily that keep your standards high? Because if you don't have intentional rituals, you will unconsciously drift back to old patterns. Maybe you start your morning with gratitude, movement, and a vision of your future. Maybe you feed your mind with empowering messages before the world distracts you. Maybe you surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow instead of people who drain you. These rituals are not luxuries, they're necessities. Conditioning is also about environment. You can't raise your standards in an environment that constantly drags you down. You must design your surroundings to support the identity you're building. That means the books on your shelf, the people in your circle, the conversations you engage in, even the space where you live and work. Everything around you is either conditioning you upward or downward. Choose wisely, and remember, conditioning is not about perfection. It's about consistency. You will have off days. You will have moments when your energy dips, when your mind slips into negativity. But the standard you set is that you don't stay there. You snap back, you return to your rituals, you recommit to the process. That's what separates those who transform from those who dabble. The beauty of conditioning is that over time it becomes automatic. At first it feels like effort, but eventually it becomes identity. You no longer have to force yourself to think positively. Your brain defaults to solutions. You no longer struggle to move your body. Energy becomes natural. You no longer debate your standards. They become who you are. That's the reward of daily conditioning. It's not just about you either. When you condition yourself daily, you raise the standard for everyone around you. Your energy impacts others. Your discipline inspires others. Your clarity influences others. People may not follow your words, but they will feel your standards. And the more you condition yourself, the more you create an environment where others are lifted simply by being in your presence. So many people ask for transformation, but they resist the discipline that creates it. They want the reward without the repetition. They want the growth without the grind, but life doesn't work that way. If you want higher standards, you must pay the price daily. And the price is not suffering, the price is consistency. The reward is not just success, the reward is freedom. Conditioning your mind and body daily is about refusing to leave your future to chance. It's about saying, I don't rise to my goals, I rise to my standards, and my standards live in my rituals. Every thought, every movement, every choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. And when you cast those votes daily, transformation is inevitable. So, the question is not whether you can raise your standards. The real question is, will you condition yourself every day to make those standards unshakable? Will you practice the rituals, feed your mind, move your body, and design your environment until your new standard becomes your only standard? Decisions create direction, vision creates clarity, conditioning builds strength, but none of it matters without action. Standards don't live in your words, they don't live in your intentions, they live in your behaviors, they live in what you do consistently, regardless of how you feel. If you want to lock in higher standards, you must take massive action that matches them. Here's the truth. People don't get stuck because they don't know what to do. Most people already know. They've read the books, watched the videos, listened to the advice. Knowledge isn't the problem. The problem is execution. The gap between knowing and doing is where dreams die. The bridge that closes that gap is massive action. Massive action doesn't mean reckless action. It doesn't mean doing everything at once without thought. It means bold, decisive, consistent steps that align with your new standards. It means doing more than you're comfortable with. It means acting even when you don't feel ready, even when fear shows up, even when doubt whispers in your ear. Because waiting for the perfect moment is the greatest illusion of all. The moment you take action, your identity shifts. When you declare a higher standard and back it with action, you send a signal to your brain. This is who I am now. Action reinforces belief, action erases doubt, action creates momentum, and momentum is everything because once you're moving, fear loses its grip. Most people fail not because they take action and it doesn't work, but because they take a little action, it doesn't work immediately, and they stop. They interpret a setback as failure instead of feedback. But massive action means you don't stop at the first obstacle. You keep adjusting, you keep learning, you keep pressing forward until your standard becomes reality. Persistence is not optional, it's the price of transformation. Taking massive action also requires courage. It requires you to face the unknown, to step into territory where the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's why most people avoid it. They stay in the comfort of planning, dreaming, preparing but never doing. And that's why their standards never truly change. Action is the only way to turn intention into identity. And let's be real, taking action will expose you. It will expose your excuses, your fears, your insecurities. But that exposure is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Every uncomfortable step forward reveals what's been holding you back. And once it's revealed, you can crush it. You can't fight what you don't face. Massive action forces you to face it. The other beauty of massive action is leverage. When you act boldly, doors open that would never appear to someone sitting still. People notice you, opportunities appear, resources show up, life responds to movement. Life doesn't reward the hesitant, it rewards the bold. Your higher standard demands that you put yourself in motion so the universe can meet you halfway. Massive action also creates certainty. So many people live in doubt because they're paralyzed in their heads. They overthink, overanalyze, and second guess. But the moment you act, the fog lifts. Action gives you clarity because it gives you real feedback, not just imagined scenarios. You stop asking, what if, and start saying, what's next? That shift in language is the shift of identity. But action alone is not enough, it has to match your standards. If you declare a standard of excellence but take mediocre actions, your results will always expose the gap. That's why congruence matters. Your actions must align with the identity you've chosen. If your standard is to live in peak health, then your meals, your workouts, your sleep must reflect that. If your standard is financial abundance, then your work ethic, your risk tolerance, your discipline must reflect that. Otherwise, your standards remain empty words. Taking massive action is also about refusing to negotiate with yourself. There will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when your mind tells you to rest, to quit, to wait until tomorrow. But every time you choose action over excuse, you strengthen your standard. You send a message to your subconscious, this is how I live now. Over time, that message becomes unshakable truth. And here's something most people miss. Massive action doesn't just change your life, it changes how you see yourself. Every time you take action, you're casting a vote for the identity you want. Eventually, the votes pile up, and you look in the mirror and realize you've become the person who lives at that standard. That's how transformation sticks, not through theory, but through aligned action. So ask yourself, where in my life am I declaring high standards but living with low actions? Where am I talking about change but refusing to step into it? Where am I waiting instead of moving? These questions are uncomfortable, but they're necessary. Because honesty is the starting point of massive action. The world doesn't need more people who plan to. The world needs people who decide, condition themselves, and then act with everything they've got. Your standard won't rise until your action rises with it. Your potential won't be unlocked until your behavior demands it. Your destiny won't be created until your feet move toward it. Massive action is not a suggestion. It's the ultimate requirement of raised standards. Without it, all the vision and conditioning in the world will collapse back into wishful thinking. With it, even the most impossible dream becomes inevitable.